ladies and gentlemen. I am honored to appear before the Assembly of State Parties. The court and judges, including myself, only speak through their judicial decisions. That said, I appear before you today in a completely different function. I am here to address you as the president of the court and on the court's behalf to talk about the extraordinary situation we are in. In March this year, at the outset of our mandate, I, Vice President Aitara, and Vice President Arapini promised to strive for the stability and strength of the court and its ability to deliver justice in an increasingly fair and efficient manner. We committed ourselves to making the court a safe environment where abuse and harassment have no place and everyone has the opportunity to continue to our mandate while realizing personal aspirations. The difficult circumstances that subsequently arose are only strengthening our determination. We all never give up to coercive measures, threats, sabotage, or outrage. The court, which upholds the principle of the rule of law, will continue pursuing justice and defending the dignity of the rights of the victims of atrocities without fear and favor, while ensuring full respect of the highest standards of defense rights. I make this solemn pledge today before you on behalf of all those who work at the court. As atrocities continue to plague the world, the court has become more and more relevant. We are realizing the expectations of the women and men who dreamed of a permanent, independent, and impartial court since the end of the World War. Particularly in the last 2 years, the court's activities have understandably attracted high political attention. The court has been subjected to attacks seeking to undermine its legitimacy and ability to administer justice and realize international law and fundamental rights by coercive measures, threats, pressure, and acts of sabotage. Several elected officials are being severely threatened and are subjected to arrest warrants from a permanent member of the UN Security Council, merely for having faithfully and diligently carried out their judicial mandate per the statutory framework and international law. 2 other warrants have been newly issued, as in the Presidency's recent public statement. The court is being threatened with draconian economic sanctions from institutions of another permanent member of the Security Council, as if it was a terrorist organization. These measures would rapidly undermine the court's operations in all situations and cases, and jeopardize its very existence. We firmly reject any attempt to influence the independence and the impartiality of the court. We resolutely dismiss efforts to politicize our function. We have and always will comply only with the law under all circumstances. We find it appalling that certain states and individuals are scandalized when the independent judges issue decisions in line with the evidence and the law. What matters is not pointing finger, but the moon. We would rather expect that all states, first and foremost states parties to the Rome Statute, as well as all persons, would be scandalized that criminal conduct established to the requisite legal standard have been committed. Right now, in every part of the world, millions of innocent people are victims of unimaginable atrocities and persecution, living in misery, violence, fear, and terror. All decisions of the court are crammed with suffering humanity. If you endeavor to read between the lines, you will find endless stories of shattered lives, pain, and crushed hopes of humans just like us, our children, our mothers, fathers, sisters, and brothers. One can agree or disagree with our public decisions, but please look at the moon and not the finger pointed to it. The court is an international judicial body, as it was underlined by a chamber in a recent decision. By exercising jurisdiction over the gravest breaches of the international principles, values, and laws, it performs functions that align with the general interests of the international community as a whole, and therefore the interests of humanity. The statute clearly defines the scope of the court's jurisdiction and the rules of legal process. Within those boundaries, judges act independently and impartially. Madam President, the staff of the court is our wealth. 1,000 persons from 109 different countries with diverse backgrounds work at the court. Their intelligence, dedication, and passion for humanity, which has been further strengthened in the current extraordinary circumstances, is for me a reason of heartwarming pride. As a new generation of talented professionals is emerging at the court, I look at the future of this noble institution with firm confidence. Improving workplace culture is a top priority for the judiciary. This presidency adopts a zero-tolerance policy for any form of harassment and misconduct. Any allegations against judges have been taken extremely seriously and appropriately dealt with under the relevant legal framework. As with all judges of the court, in my judicial functions, I have been listening to the voices of witnesses and victims. I cannot forget what the victim responded when asked why she chose to testify. She stated, "I'm hoping that justice will be administered. Why did they spoil my life like this? Why did they ruin my children's lives? I want justice to be done." This is, I believe, the most profound meaning of our work, to give suffering humanity hope and truth. Madam President, I would like to wholeheartedly thank the presidency of this assembly, yourself, Vice President Kasangana, and Vice President Kanu, all state parties, and all the entities, first and most civil society representatives, which have been lending encouragement and support to the court in these difficult circumstances. I will reiterate once again that without states' unconditional support and cooperation, the court cannot operate. Let me be very clear. This is not our court, although technically it is grounded on a treaty. It is also not merely your court. It is the court of your people and humanity as a whole. When you support the court and the cause of international criminal justice, you are supporting yourselves. The value on which your democracies were elected and stand, as well as the principles that tie your citizens together. I have mentioned the existential threat of sanctions. Let me be honest. There isn't such a thing as selective sanctions or coercive measures. If the court collapses, this will inevitably imply the collapse of all situations and cases. Witnesses who the court vowed to protect will be abandoned. Field offices will no longer be maintained. Victims across situations will be left without remedies or hope. Elected and non-elected officials, your own citizens, and their families will endure tremendous consequences. The fall of the court will imply the fall of the rule of law in the international community and a final defeat of the fight against impunity. Victims would no longer be able to obtain justice. For many of them, a world without the ICC is inconceivable. I starkly remember the testimony of a witness who explained why she chose to testify by stating, "I know no one else can defend me, only judges. They are the only ones who can help me. Because what happened to me, I wouldn't want that to happen to anyone else." By bringing down the court, we will be failing these victims and breaking the promise of never again.